things to come.
What is going on, everybody? Happy Thursday to you here across the Jeff Meacham Network YouTube channel as well as on Facebook. I am, of course, the voice behind the Jeff Meacham Network. That would be me, good old JM. Let me get the hell rid of that other one because that looks like shit. Welcome, everybody, to Meach's Musings. It is Thursday, October 24th, 2024. 7 Eastern, 4 Pacific. Hope everybody's had a good week so far. I cannot claim the same, but that's why I have this, so I can vent and bitch about stuff. Again, for real, I hope everybody's having a good week. We got a lot on the docket just today. Right after me, will be over on NoDQ.com. You can check out the predictions for both Halloween Havoc and Crown Jewel with Aaron and the team. They'll be on at 8 p.m. Eastern, 5 Pacific tonight. And then predictions for Bound for Glory from our friends over at the Simply Reliable Studios. That'll be at 10:30 Eastern, 7:30 Pacific tonight. So that's just today. And we'll get into the other plugs as we reach the top of the next hour. Or whenever I feel like being done, because I don't know how long I'm going to go today. I'm in a shitty mood, so I may go a little longer than I'm anticipating. But I'm going to go ahead and throw the overlay on just in case I have a chat come in that I don't see. So there is the. Actually, you know what? I'm going to wait until the chats come in before I turn them on, so I can actually see what I'm doing. So here's what the situation is. All right, well that's good. I can at least sleep in a little bit tomorrow. So a few of you know that I am very much occupied tomorrow with a lot of things on my mind. Those of you in the tight-knit family circle know what's happening tomorrow as far as my family's life. But also tomorrow, if I can get this marker further to scroll, that'd be just neat. I'm trying to find what I was going to talk about today because I really want to talk about this. Yes, there it is. I found it. Okay. So I've been, I guess, encouraged is the best way to describe the action taken, to not really let myself delve into politics too much, because inevitably when I do that, it leads to consequences of the extreme degree, one way or the other, right? Either I get so many people rallied behind me that I discover a whole new fan base and circle of people to confide in, or I alienate every damn buddy and scorch the earth. But this election, this process is just too much to not talk about. And I really got, I guess, inspired. I mean, is it really inspiring to talk about this shit? No. But I got a little bit of a hitch in my get along about it yesterday after seeing Mick Foley's video posted to his YouTube channel. I'm not going to play that because I don't want to deal with Google copyrights or YouTube bullshit or whatever, but I will read what Mick said. And keep in mind, this is after me seeing Hulk Hogan endorse the Republican nominee and The Undertaker, who both of whom I've had enormous fandom for and respect for. But I also have a great love and affinity for Mick Foley on multiple fronts. So let me just read you what Mick said. And I know it's a little long, so sorry if, this probably ain't going to be everybody's cup of tea today, or even Shadow Whiskey, but here we go. I think it's really important to talk about the election. I think it's important for everyone to have a moment where enough is enough. I mean, for me, enough was 8 years ago. The Undertaker is correct in saying Donald Trump made politics fun again, and then he played a clip of Undertaker's interview with Donald Trump on Monday that premiered on Monday, and Mark Calloway telling Donald Trump that he made politics fun, and the Undertaker is correct in saying Donald Trump made politics fun again for about 3 weeks in 2016. But it's 8 years later. There's absolutely nothing fun about this man. To me, there's nothing fun about a man who could be the next president of the United States talking about the enemy within, making clear that this was not a mistake. This is his go-to line. And then he showed several clips of Donald Trump saying, the enemy within, the enemy within, the enemy within, which he co-opted from Senator Joseph McCarthy. Now, a lot of you in my audience aren't old enough to have heard of Joseph McCarthy. Google Senator McCarthy, especially during the time of the Cold War between the United States and the Soviet Union and communism. And trust me, just look it up. Joseph McCarthy, one of the worst people who ever graced our planet. What frustrates me the most, and I agree with Mick here, is that so many good, hardworking American people cannot see through such an obvious con man who is only out for himself. The idea that the working man thinks this guy is actually behind them has obviously not looked into his past. And this is me reading Mick's statement, but I full-heartedly would repeat this to anybody. I know people work hard. They don't have time, always have time to go home and do their research. But instead of turning into your favorite news station of choice, look up the data. Just look into the facts, folks. See how many times Donald Trump has failed to pay his contractors and workers over the last 30 years. It's in the hundreds. He claims it's because they didn't do good work. But this comes from a guy who claims he only hires the best people. I claim he's screwing over the working man. I agree, by the way. Like I said, Kevin Nash told Mick Foley about a story about going into the venue that used to be the Taj Mahal, the host area of WrestleManias 4 and 5, mentioning Trump's name and seeing the bartender roll his eyes, and having that same bartender tell a story about his father being an electrical contractor, worked hard his whole life to build up that business, and then when Trump did not pay him for the work he did in the Taj Mahal, and the man was unable to fight it because he had the resources to fight it. Trump knows that the people, honest, hardworking contractors, don't have the resources to fight him in court, and he bankrupts them as a result. Their dreams disappear. That's not standing up for the working man. Words are cheap, and he lies almost every time he opens his mouth. But what you know what he's lying? You know what else he's lying about? When he talks about coming after the enemy within. The enemy within, who is that? It could be anybody. It could be me. Article came out yesterday, the 22nd. So that's 2 days ago now, with a study that showed Donald Trump has issued over 100 threats to people he perceived as his political rivals. He has threatened to impeach and prosecute Vice President Harris. He accused President Obama of treason. He said that his own chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, General Mark Millier, may I add, should be executed. He did nothing to stop what could have been the death of his own vice president, Mike Pence. And then they played a clip of the the attack on the Capitol back on January 6th, whatever that was, 3 years ago now. And the crowd shouting, "Hang Mike Pence, hang Mike Pence." Now he's gone so far as to say anyone who criticizes the Supreme Court and other judges should be in jail. So this is Mick Foley saying this, but I'm co-signing. Donald Trump, I'd like to talk directly to you. Are you going to put me in jail for criticizing your Supreme Court choices? Because I think Clarence Thomas is a disgrace to the Supreme Court. I think Samuel Alito is a horrible person who doesn't belong in the highest court in the land. I don't think Brett Kavanaugh's interview in front of the Senate would have landed him a job as a dishwasher, which I've done. So I feel that. Let alone serving in the Supreme Court for life. I mean, I'm so scared that I was thinking about calling you a douchebag in this interview. And then I thought, that's a pretty strong word. Trump might come after me. And I made a decision not to directly call you a douchebag, even though you are one. Vote for Kamala Harris. That last part, he lost me because, you know, I'm scared to call you a douchebag, but you are one. It's like, okay, Mick, so you did that. That's the only part he really loses me. But everything else, I 100% agree with Mick Foley. But the last 2 or 3 sentences, I don't. And I'll tell you why. So I, being a parent at the time of an 8-year-old child, found myself just wanting to pour this as an actual screwdriver rather than what it is, which is emergency powder and water, so I can keep my vitamin C up because I'm feeling like shit again. By the time I posted on social media that I was going to pour myself a screwdriver, because if we're going to be screwed, I might as well have the right ammunition to deal with the screwing, which is a screwdriver. So I poured myself a strong screwdriver. Is what it is. Sorry, now I have my mother-in-law texting me because that's what I told her to do. So at least they're doing what they're told. But resorting to name calling him a douchebag, I didn't think that was okay, personally. Again, I love Mick Foley. I agreed with 99% of that statement, but calling him a douchebag and then just here's my, and again, I really wanted to be on Greg Cherry show yesterday because he and Maddie went into this, and I was unable to appear because I was out and about yesterday in this time slot, getting Dylan from school and getting him a very late lunch or a very early dinner, depending on how you want to look at things. I feel as though the two choices, let's be real, there's not enough people in this country to have the balls to vote third party. It's just the way it is. It's unfortunate, but it is the truth. The truth is often unfortunate. In this case, the people in this country have enough cojones to vote other than Republican or Democrat. And if they choose not to vote at all, that's even part of the problem itself, right? So that is what that is. But the problem is we're not dealing with somebody who is a deplorable human being taking on somebody that is definitely going to be a change of pace in his opponent. From my perspective as a voter, as an American citizen, as somebody that has tried very hard to pay attention to what's going on around me, as opposed to just voting the party line blindly, like I have done, admittedly, many times in the past, it feels to me like Vice President Harris's approach now is not one of change. It's one of doing everything she can to show the American people that she's not Donald Trump. We realize you're not Donald Trump, Vice President Harris. We get that. But you've also been part of an administration in the last 4 years that has put a good chunk of the country in the mindset of, God, everything is so bad, we need to have Trump back again, which is the exact wrong thing from my perspective. But rather than focus on what you're going to do different than you've been doing as second in command the last 4 years, her campaign has now chosen to veer into a direction of, well, I'm not Donald Trump, I'm going to prove that. Okay, great. We know you're not Donald Trump. You don't have bright orange, fake comb-overed hair. You are not a man, for one thing. So we know you're not Donald Trump. What are your policies going to be that are different than the policies that former President Trump is going to enact? Now, when he was elected 8 years ago, a lot of the policies that he was trying to introduce during his term as president were overshadowed by Donald Trump being Donald Trump. That's just the way that things played out. Because he has, very much like the head of AEW does, a bad case of lack of finger restriction when it comes to operating his device, and lack of ability to keep diarrhea of the mouth contained. So this whole thing is just such a circus, and I'm very much in the same kind of position that my son is, that I was 24 years ago, when I was in a government class in my senior year of high school, and getting all the information about Vice President Gore and Governor Bush, and not really liking what I heard either way, but it didn't matter because I couldn't vote. I was 17. My son is just, the problem is he sees social media. He sees these news channels, and Mick made a great point in that statement about, rather than tuning into Fox News, CNN, ABC News, MSNBC, any of these news stations, which all have an agenda now. It's not like they don't have their own agenda behind them now, like in theory the news channels did back in the day. It's the unfortunate thing, but just looking up and getting information from verifiable sources, people just go with what they see on the television or on their social media timelines and just make their decision. It's the worst thing you can do in a case like this. So rather than just blindly, well, go vote for Kamala because she's not Donald Trump, or go vote for Donald Trump because he's not Kamala Harris, I encourage my audience. I know it's only 4 of you watching right now. I don't know how many of you are going to watch on demand, whatever. And like I said, I'm probably going to alienate a lot of people, probably going to turn a lot of people off of my opinions today, but I needed to get this out of my system, just for what it's worth. I encourage everybody that watches me now, or will watch me on demand, or is going to watch my content over the weekend, which I will plug that momentarily, to do the research on what or who you're voting for, rather than just blindly, ink that ballot on the 5th, or if you have early voting before that. Do a little research and have some common sense. And I know that's asking a lot from a good chunk of people, it feels like, these days. If common sense were more common, you wouldn't have to worry about saying if common sense was more common, right? But I encourage everybody to do research rather than just voting blindly, because that is what has devolved the process pretty much since the Reagan era. Again, I grew up in the Reagan era, didn't vote in the Reagan era, but I've been able to at least look into it a little bit more and realize that it's been a complete and utter clusterfuck for at least my entire lifetime, if not before. All right. I am done. I'm off my political soapbox. Thank you for your attention in this time. Like I said, I like doing that shit. I really don't, but Mick really got to me yesterday. He really did. And I really wanted to share my opinion, share his statement, and then my opinion on it, for what it's worth. So y'all can unfriend me, y'all can unfollow me. That is so your prerogative. But I would encourage, if you do that, which again, I'm not going to stop you. I have no intention. I have no desire to chase after somebody or somebodies that don't want me in their plane of view. You don't like what I had to say today? That's your prerogative. That's your opinion on the matter. My opinion is what it is. You may choose to agree with me or not. And if you can't stand the side of my face after what I said, then more power to you. The unsubscribe button is the same button as the subscribe button, whatever is down here over there. So it is what it is. All right. Now that I've been a royal asshole, let me go ahead and get my friends a promotion because they clearly deserve it more than I do. I'm just a schmuck with an opinion. These people actually have legitimate talent. First of all, my dear friends in the LA Dolls, one of whom, of course, Ariel was part of Paradise Kitty with my dear friend Jenna for so many years. Ariel is currently back in New York off Broadway for Drag the Musical over at the New World Stages on 50th. So please go check out Drag the Musical if you're in the area of New York City or close to Broadway or off Broadway. The QR code in the corner will take you to the ticket page. You can buy tickets anytime between now and the end of March. They're going to have a long run back in New York. So I'm very happy for Ariel and Jazzy and everybody involved with the project. So cool. So go check out Drag the Musical out in the Big Apple. The keyboard artist par excellence from the LA Dolls, Rocky Rose, is on tour with Cyndi Lauper on her Girls Just Want to Have Fun farewell tour. And as I am live with you folks right now, get over there, you turd. There we go. They are going to be in Detroit tonight. So if you happen to be a fan of my stuff or professional wrestling and you're in Detroit early for Bound for Glory weekend, head on over. Go see Cyndi Lauper. I think they're at Little Caesars. I could be wrong on that. So let me not be accused of talking out of my ass like I've been for the last 20 minutes about the politics, because, again, I'm not a political guy. I just have my opinion. My dad would say, it's my opinion. It should be yours. But it is what it is. All right. So they are at the Fox Theater. Okay. So connected back to wrestling, the site of the 2007 WWE Hall of Fame ceremony, the Fox Theater in Detroit, is where Cyndi Lauper is tonight. So if you remember the stage, Dusty Rhodes was in the Hall of Fame, baby. Jim Ross and Jerry the King Lawler and the Wild Samoans. That is where they are tonight. So there you go. I think I just saw. I did not. Okay. What that says, I would like to know, because I'm trying to see. I think that's the set list, which is not what I was looking at. I thought I saw the band name. That'd be cool if the band name was on there. Anyway, they're at the Fox Theater tonight in Detroit. As far as the rest of the weekend goes, they are at the MGM Music Hall at Fenway in Boston on Saturday. They're at the Capital One Arena, which I believe is the old MCI Center, where Starrcade 97 took place in Washington, D.C. on Sunday. And then Wednesday, Cyndi Lauper is back in Madison Square Garden. Is that not the coolest shit ever? So, yeah, check out CyndiLauper.com. It'll take you to – that link will take you to the tickets pages for the upcoming tour. So, please go check out Cyndi's show. Give a little love to my buddy Rocky Rose on the keys, and that'll be coming up this weekend again. Boston and Detroit tonight, and Washington, D.C., and then they're back at the Garden. Cyndi Lauper back in Madison Square Garden on Wednesday. Too fucking cool. As far as projects outside of my own things, kind of. Sometime in the next at the 6 o'clock hour tonight here on the West Coast, I'm going to be interviewing my buddy Braden Timmons. We're going to be talking about the premiere of The Last Nightmare Part 1, which is a continuation of his journey into the H2O story. And that movie, of course, will premiere tomorrow night, 9 p.m. Eastern, 6 p.m. Pacific. You can check out that QR code. That'll take you right to the YouTube page, and you can watch The Last Nightmare as it premieres. Part 1 premieres, I should say, tomorrow night. And then I haven't actually recorded with Braden yet, so I don't know if we're going to be on right before the premiere or right after the premiere. I was going to go live tomorrow, but I parental duty calls, so I got to make sure I get the kiddo squared away off for the weekend. So be looking for that tomorrow, either at 8 p.m. Eastern or at 10 p.m. Eastern. No, 10 p.m. Eastern. One or the other tomorrow. All right. As far as the live streams that I'm either part of or promoting for the peoples. Again, coming up here in about a half hour, over at NoDQ.com. You can check out the full preview and predictions for both Halloween Havoc and Crown Jewel, which of course will be next Saturday, November 2nd. But the preview for both shows, predictions for both shows will be tonight, immediately after me here at 8 p.m. Eastern, 5 Pacific, over at NoDQ.com. And then our friends at the Simply Reliable Studios will be previewing this Saturday's Bound for Glory. That'll be tonight at 10:30 Eastern, 7:30 Pacific, of course, right after Impact over on AXS TV and TNA Plus. And then on Friday, so tomorrow, Game 1 of the World Series, as covered by Statboy Mike and, hopefully if I get home in time, yours truly. Again, that'll be at 7:30 Eastern, 4:30 Pacific. Mikey will be live. I will very likely be joining him after the stream starts because, again, I do have to make sure Dylan is picked up and en route to his mother's. But I will be there to help Mikey cover Game 1. And we will also have coverage of Game 2 Saturday in between the two Simply Viable Studios Combat Sports live streams, and that'll be also 7:30 Eastern, 4:30 Pacific, with opening pitch scheduled for 5:08. Saturday morning, our time here in Southern California, 2 p.m. Eastern, will be UFC 308, as covered by Walter and James, as well as Bound for Glory being on Saturday, 7 Eastern, 4 Pacific, also covered by Walter and James. Programming note, there will be no simple shenanigans. Saturday shenanigans due to everybody having obligations all over the place. So for the first time, we will not have Saturday shenanigans. Just an FYI, Saturday night. But Sunday, the Simply Reliable team will be back at 7 Eastern, 4 Pacific with the coverage of Halloween Havoc. And again, I appreciate everybody tuning in. I know I kind of went off into the deep weeds of where I usually never go. So is what it is. But again, tune in tomorrow on this channel, on this Facebook page. We'll have the interview with Braden either right before or right after the YouTube global premiere of The Last Nightmare Part 1, and that'll be coming up at 9 Eastern, 6 Pacific tomorrow night. For those of you that have yet to see the trailer, which I've shown a million times, for one more time before tomorrow, here it is.
Oh, John, thank God.
Williams, what the hell are you doing here?
Myers. Is he dead?
Myers has zero emotion. He has no motives. If he sees, he kills.
Tell the town to lock their doors. No one in, no one out.
And I can tell you from firsthand experience, it is yet another must-see from Bat and Tall Story for any Halloween fan and H2O lovers, courtesy of me. That was the quote I gave. And again, you can catch that premiere live as it premieres tomorrow night, 6 p.m. Eastern, 9 p.m. Eastern, 6 p.m. Pacific, excuse me. And again, right before or right after, you'll see the interview I conduct with Braden, which I'm going to record here in just a short. But for today, coming up after me here at 8 p.m. Eastern, 5 Pacific, check out the predictions for Halloween Havoc and Crown Jewel over at NoDQ.com, and the predictions for Bound for Glory coming up at 10:30 Eastern, 7:30 Pacific for Bound for Glory, again, at the Simple Man brand. Simply predicting Bound for Glory, which, of course, is this Saturday coming up at 7 Eastern, 4 Pacific with our coverage. So that's going to do it for me, boys and girls. Again, thank you for tolerating my political crap. I know it's not always the most fun topic. It's never the most fun topic, let's be honest. But back to Happy Peppy tomorrow again with our interview with Braden. And the World Series starts tomorrow, baby. And if you're home tonight and you're a Kings fan, opening night at the Crypto.com Arena. Looking forward to seeing the Kings. I won't be there tonight. My son's going with Grandpa, but I'll hopefully be there on Wednesday when Cindy Lauper is in the Garden. I'll be at the CDC Arena, hopefully. Let's see how things work out. Thanks, y'all. I appreciate it. We'll see you next time here on Meach's Musings and all weekend long across